So today we're going to be discussing something that I think, all of us have kind of felt it in our bum, but haven't really wanted to talk about too much. But the season is not over for the Miami Dolphins, and I'm going to give you a couple of reasons why. So the first thing we're going to get into is going to be that this is not a normal 3-6 team. You really look at most 3-6 teams that when we, check back with the whole historical, essence of who was 3-6, if they made it to the playoffs or whatever it is. But we have to understand that this is a different circumstance. And most of those teams may have had injuries, but they typically were not good teams. They weren't teams that had a lot of good talent on there, and they started out, not very great and ended up, doing what it ended up happening. But when you look at the Miami Dolphins, and you have to consider that the reason, after playing the games that we played, the last 3 straight games, it's not a fluke. Like this team is not a 3-6 team. It's just a 3-6 team because we had a really bad backup quarterback situation that happened for a little while. But if Tua was in, we most definitely, I'm telling you, I think most Dolphins fans can agree that if Tua was in, we probably wouldn't be in this situation. And, of course that's an issue, but we are not a normal 3-6 team. And that's why this situation is so different, because when you look at the games that are coming up, of course, we played Buffalo, Arizona, and the LA Rams. The LA Rams were playing phenomenal. Their offense was clicking on all cylinders with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and Kyron Williams, and we completely shut them down. The Buffalo Bills, if not for a really bad pass interference play and a Hail Mary miracle 61-yard field goal kick, most likely Tua gets the ball back and scores a field goal, and we ended up winning that game. And obviously the Arizona Cardinals, the defense just blew their knee out in the second half. But when you look at a lot of these circumstances, every single game that we've played with Tua in, besides the Buffalo Bills game, which was just a horrendous game, we've either lost by a couple points or we won. And this is why I'm telling you this, because the 3-6 teams that usually have this happen, they're just not good teams. And our situation is very much so different. Having Tua on this team, the offense. Quick intermission. If you're liking this video, do me that favor. Hit the like, hit that subscribe, moves. And of course, there was a bad quarter that happened last week. But to be honest, it's because sometimes we're thinking that we're a little frantic. But when we play the next couple of games, it's going to be against New England, it's going to be against the Raiders, it's going to be against the Jets, it's going to be, honestly, the Green Bay Packers. They make a lot of mistakes. You have to understand that, of course, everybody wants to hype up Jordan Love, but dude throws interceptions almost every single game. I don't think I've really seen a game where Jordan Love, and I've had him in fantasy, throws an interception basically every single game. So they allow turnovers on their team as well. And the 49ers have been injured the entire year. So these games are very winnable. I think, honestly, at this point, we've played probably the hardest teams that we're going to play based upon the Bills and the Arizona Cardinals, because both those teams look way better than the teams that we're talking about. The Green Bay Packers, they're probably up there as well, but they're not unbeatable. And when you look at the LA Rams game, the difference, we have to understand that with the Buffalo Bills, we did not have Sealer in. And clearly the difference is Sealer made a humongous difference in this game. He clogged up the whole entire lane to allow Chop Robinson. And that Chop Robinson is starting to get his thing together. But that's going to be the first point, is that this team is not a normal 3-6 team. And the second point is going to be that the defense is coming together along with the offense. When you look at this team, first off, last game, holding the LA Rams to basically only field goals. The thing that you saw with this team is that this defense can be as good as we saw it last game. We tend to forget sometimes that we have Jalen Ramsey. Obviously, Kendall Fuller is going to be out, but we had Kendall Fuller. We had Javon Holland in the backfield. And even Jordan Poyer. I know we don't like him this year, but still a good player, or still was a good player. I can turn it on at any moment. We have Jordan Brooks. We just got a middle linebacker that was basically the leading tackler for the Seahawks. And then we have Calais Campbell's been doing amazing things. Chop Robinson is coming into his own. He's had sacks in the last 2 games. Zach Sealer is really turning it on as well. I mean, dude has, honestly, that was the one signing that I was like, we let Christian Wilkins go. Zach Sealer's doing the same exact thing that Christian Wilkins was doing. And the key to this all is we have all this going. The pass rush seems to start to get there. Bradley Chubb is only a couple weeks out, max. Bradley Chubb is going to be coming back. Now, depending, honestly, obviously, if we go on a win streak, Bradley Chubb will be coming back. So the way that our defense played last game, we are getting upgrades. You have to remember the past couple games, we did not have Javon Holland. He got injured. So having Javon Holland out there, Zach Sealer back, and upgrading our defense, one of the things that we made a big change, which is something that Mike McDaniel has not ever done. We made the change at middle linebacker. We actually just released David Long because David Long was getting smoked by all the tight ends, Kincaid, Trey McBride. He was getting smoked by all these tight ends, and people were targeting him. So what you saw last game is that having Anthony Walker in there, and on top of that, we have the new middle linebacker, Jordan, I forgot his name, but we now are not going to be exposed like that, because most of the time it was just the tight ends that were killing us because our middle linebackers couldn't get there. Jordan Brooks was typically on something else, and they would target David Long. They would move their tight ends in a way to get attached to David Long, and they would take advantage of it every time. So seeing our defense come together along with our offense, you have Devon Achane. Odell Beckham is starting to become a factor in these games. And one of the biggest things with the offensive side that I've seen the past 2 years, because we were so, I think this is something that when you think of being comfortable, we were so comfortable with just beating easy teams that we didn't really make any changes. And what we're seeing this year is, before, we were funneling the ball to Tyreek Hill all the time. And unfortunately, Jalen Waddle's dropping the ball, but what we're starting to see is that it's opening up for Tua so that he's not looking at Tyreek Hill every single play. And that has been just killer for Tua, because Tua is a guy that will find the open man. He will get the ball to the open man, but what it looked like is that we were designing plays to get the ball to Tyreek Hill, which I understand that, but Tyreek Hill can also be a distraction, and I think that's a huge thing that Mike McDaniel just learned, that you can use him as a distraction to allow other players to get open, like Jonnu Smith, Odell Beckham, all of these players, and we're not funneling the ball to him anymore, so our offense is moving much better. It's kind of similar to Josh Allen this year with the Buffalo Bills, is you took Stephon Diggs out there, so he doesn't feel like he has to funnel the ball to Stephon Diggs every time. Actually, very similar what I'm starting to see with Tua, is that you were designing to funnel the ball to Tyreek Hill all the time, and now we've just totally eradicated that, and we're just finding the open man, and the offense is moving so much better against these tougher defenses. Like Teron Armstead just came out and said that this was the best defensive line that they faced all year, including Buffalo and everything. So this defense is not bad. It's not a bad defense. This defense is definitely up there. They're pretty legit. And what I'm starting to see is that we're starting to play more like an offense, a complete offense, not a one-man show. What we're trying to do is we're trying to move the ball in any way that we possibly can, so it's coming on in certain moments. And the third and last thing is that it seems like Mike McDaniel is starting to do all the adjustments that we've been begging him to do. Benching players that make mistakes, doing what's best for the team, and not trying to be such a friendly coach. And this is kind of the key to why the Dolphins are starting to have a little bit of oomph to their game and to coming into these games now, is Mike McDaniel starting to act like a coach and not like a best friend. And it's been so liberating to see him doing this, because we were used to just somebody fumbles, you keep getting them back out there, who cares? If someone makes a mistake and just completely gets destroyed in pass coverage, don't worry about it, we're going to get him back out there, who cares? He'll do better. I believe in him. And what we were all screaming for is there's a certain point where if someone's not showing you something, there's no belief. You have to put the best possible option at that position. You have to put them in there. And he's starting to do that. He's starting to make adjustments so that we can play the best possible football and not worry about making everybody be best friends with him. And that's huge. it's huge, and it's going to be the reason why we're going to go on a run. I 100% believe this. We're not a normal 3-6 team. We have too much talent on this roster, and a lot of these games are winnable. And people want to sit there and go, we're going to lose Green Bay and 49ers and all that stuff. These teams are not that great this year. They're not like these. They're not like the Buffalo. Like the hardest, I would say, the second best team in the NFL right now is probably the Buffalo Bills, and we were right there with them. We in their house. We probably should have won, if not for a dumb Jordan Poyer head down penalty. Probably should have won that game. It's not a normal 3-6 team, and I'm telling you right now, these are very winnable games. And if we do what we did in the LA Rams and we expand on that, the season can change very quick. Fins up, baby. Love you all. Peace.